All right, so I've been wanting to avoid this because the aliens have been assaulting me so much for so long that it doesn't mean anything to me anymore, and I don't care to share it or be like, oh, they beat me up again today. I'm so tired of it. The assault has gotten so old on me that it doesn't mean a fucking thing to me anymore. It's just all I feel like I'm doing is just encouraging it. But starting off, one of the things that they really have been doing lately, and a lot of this seems to be ramping up, it's like Alex Jones. They always make me feel like Alex Jones. Like Alex Jones is entitled, like he feels entitlement to be on your phone. You know what I mean? Because he feels like he's the tip of the spear, like he's arrived. You know what I mean? And this is how he arrives in life. You know what I mean? And it's almost like with Alex Jones, it's like a mistake that you can never take back. You know what I mean? It's like I accidentally told this person something about myself that anything at all, and he would have never stopped. You know what I mean? It's almost like being nice to somebody and then be like, oh shit. It's kind of like that movie, What About Bob? You know what I mean? Where he's nice to this guy and then the dude becomes like a stalker and never fucking disappears. And he's just a fucking crazy person who ruins his whole fucking life. That's kind of like what it feels like. That's kind of what it feels like with Alex Jones. And another thing with Alex Jones is it's always, you know, well, like jealousy, you know what I mean? Like I always hear him. They always make me hear him like laughing through his nostrils, you know, because he sees something that I'm doing, and it's like just now I was looking at fidget toys, and the implication of that is that I'm going to be using that because I have a lot of important things to think about. So Alex Jones is having an issue with it. You know what I mean? It's not like an outright, oh, fuck you, you're not that special or anything like that. It's more like something that he could never admit to himself or doesn't even realize is going on with himself. Just a distorted perception where he feels like laughing through his nose, just kind of like a scoffing type thing. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't understand his perception is totally twisted because he's looking at somebody who's outpaced him, and then now his mind has inverted reality, so then he sees the opposite of that. You know what I mean? And then just it's really aggressive, and it feels like, you know, they had me include him in a lot of these emails recently. And I was like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? I don't see a problem with it myself personally because, I mean, he thinks about a lot of things, and just whatever, you can factor that into the shit that he thinks about. You know, it's just, what's he going to do? You know, nothing. You know what I mean? But it became a problem that, not a problem, but they make me perceive these things. And I don't actually understand why they're doing it. I have theories. I mean, for one, it doesn't affect me personally to know or not know whether or not it's bothering him to see me do things as he stalks me, you know, over my electronic devices, which he has on, you know, repeated occasions made me know under no uncertain terms that he's stalking me. And he's a Fabian communist, admittedly, through the Acacia Strains music, the song Impaler, which was in response to voicemails that left on his voicemail. Admittedly a Fabian communist shill, which means when he repeatedly says socialism works if you do it right, which I don't even know if he does that anymore, but he did that a lot, then what he's saying is, you know, well, that's not actually possible because he says that in his own, you know, show that socialism is bad. Even just like that, like where I just like got held up on that word, like he says that on his own, like that didn't sound right. And Alex Jones, I feel his energy, he's seizing upon that. This kind of thing goes on all the time. When I'm talking to Chat GPT, then I feel his energy like he's seizing upon that. Like I arrived in life because I saw you have a trouble saying that. You know what I mean? But it's not as like intense as that, but it's just in his mind, he believes it. You know what I mean? But, you know, it just, you know, it doesn't make sense because he states himself that socialism doesn't work and that if you lower taxes, then the prosperity goes up. But then he'll say, well, socialism works if you do it right, you know? And so he's just a Fabian communist, which means that he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, which is what they're saying in the song, which just means that he disguises himself as something else and then injects lies into it as a means of controlling people in a communist direction that way. You know what I mean? So he is actually a vicious rabid communists, in truth. Okay? Now, on top of that, he has had CIA people working for him from Stratford and different things like this. So it's actually probably shouldn't be as surprising that I'm continually catching him on my devices, because actually he's a CIA employee. He's a CIA. He works for the CIA. You know what I mean? So what he is he's selling these lies disguised as truth, and then being a CIA asset. So he's going to probably be on my devices just if he chooses to be, because that's the way they see things. They surveil us and run experiments on us and do all kinds of things through the CIA. But the truth of the matter is that I really, even though that is going on, I really don't need to know that. You know what I mean? Personally, I don't need to know how he's feeling. And it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like his energy is like assaulting me. You know what I mean? It's like his energy is kind of like being raped in a way. I know that's probably not a good example, but in a way it is. His energy kind of rapes me. You know what I mean? And it feels like, it's hard to explain it. And their technology is so extreme, it's impossible to even explain it. But it's like the presence of another human being, energy. You know what I mean? Like the way they see things, the way they feel about it. You know what I mean? All that stuff, like, you know, imposing itself upon my life. You know what I mean? Just constantly. So anyways, it gets so fucking old, you know? And it was a lot of the people that I grew up around, them just being on my devices all the time. And it was primarily them. And then it stopped. It suddenly just stopped, and it was only Alex Jones. Which, you know, there's more of a justification there with Alex Jones, because I think what they're doing is probably a couple different things, but primarily some kind of divine retribution thing. Because Alex Jones, I left voicemails on his voicemail, and then women got stalked and women got threatened. So the natural order of things is for men to kind of be sacrificial in defense of women, you know. And so then I'll suffer because they were stalked and all this kind of stuff. So the whole order of business is just that now you see that this person's about to have power over Alex Jones, and every day I make him hate him more. You know what I mean? So with them, it's not just I'm going to come in and do terrible things to you. It's I'm going to tell you that first. I'm going to make you fear it. I'm going to make you feel it. I'm going to make you desperate. I'm going to turn your mind inside out. And then when you're at the height of desperation, I'm going to take revenge against you while you're pissing your pants in fear, having already built up to that much fear over a long period of time. That's what they're doing. And they've been working that angle on a lot of different people through me. You know, the government, they repeatedly say things like, how arrogant are those people? How arrogant are those people? You know, just mid-conversation, sometimes I'll be talking to them and then they'll just twist it and it'll all of a sudden be, how arrogant are those people? And then they'll just keep saying it. It just comes out of nowhere. And I don't even have a response for them. I'm like, well, I don't know, pretty arrogant. You know what I mean? And it doesn't actually matter what I say. But that doesn't happen as much. There's not as much conversations going back and forth between us. I'm not really in a mood to talk to them anymore. And they don't bother me, so I don't even understand how that works. But either way, it's gotten to the point where I'm really disgusted with them, to the point of like killing myself or like taking pills and different shit. I'm thinking of different things. But the thing of it is as well with Alex Jones, or not Alex, things with Alex Jones, so just, goddamn, it just never ends. Constantly, goddamn, with shit with Alex Jones, man. Motherfucker, I don't give a shit about Alex Jones, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't. Like, this shouldn't dominate my life. That person is a miserable pest, a sicko, CIA piece of shit, Fabian communist. I don't, like, he wins. You know what I mean? Like, a person like that who's driven by inferiority complex, like, he's got to tell everybody that he'll come back like the Terminator if somebody beats him up. There's a grown man, he's 50 years old, telling people this, millions of people, the same shit every fucking day. Told everybody that he beat up a whole football stadium full of people. Always talking about beating people up and shit like that. And the reason that he's like that, probably some of it does have to do with being cornered by a lot of power. But at the same time, you understand that Alex Jones had to get moved from school to school because he got beat up so much in high school. And they got to the point of his parents were having to move him to different cities and stuff. And he's acting like that. See, even I myself will get pretty rowdy and tell people some aggressive things when I'm angry. But that's just because you cross somebody, they will get like that. But like with Alex Jones, it's more like a claim. Like, I could beat you up. You know what I mean? Like, I'll beat you up. You know what I mean? Like, I could beat up 20 people. He says shit like this. You know what I mean? Like, I could beat up 20 people? Really? 20? You know what I mean? It's just, with somebody like that, it bothers me so much because now he's dominating my life. And that's his dream. Like, he would go to prison gladly for something like that. You know what I mean? Like, the impulse in his mind, the drive to drag down meaningful messages and, you know, claim to be able to hurt other people and all that kind of shit is so hardwired into him from, this person is a scarred human being who really got hurt. I grew up in that general area that he grew up in, so actually I know for a fact that is a really hardcore area. And he probably did get the shit kicked out of him a lot, okay? Especially if he wasn't like what they were like. Like me, I got along with people like that because I was into basketball and, you know, just into the same rap music and all the same shit that they're into, the same clothing, all of it. It wasn't the only people I hung out with, but I split it up. But, you know, that was part of my, you know what I mean? I got along with people like that. But Alex Jones probably didn't. And those are hardcore people from Section 8. And that's all that's really there. You know what I mean? So whenever you go to school in an area like that, it's like an industrial park area, and they have so much Section 8 housing in it that there's a lot of white flight that goes on. I left that school when I was about in the 3rd grade and came back in the 6th grade, and every white person had pretty much just left. And that's just probably did go on like that. So I actually understand this better than most people. And that's just really terrible that a miserable, scarred person like that is getting what he wants, because he probably is on my phone thinking this shit, and he's like, yeah. He gets off on that, you know. Sometimes they make me feel like Joe Rogan is on my fucking phone. Even right now, I feel like I'm being raped by Alex Jones' energy and satisfaction. Even as I go on to the next subject, I'm just going to try to ignore it. But another thing is that they'll wait until my mind starts to gear up on a subject. See, this is another thing that bothers me quite a bit, because I've watched my brain on EEG. I've watched my brain on an EEG readout on a screen, see what my brain waves are doing in live time. And it does, like, the gamma waves really don't go up that often, but when they do, then they spike because you're realizing something, or like I've heard that biting into an apple can spike them. Constructive thoughts, when your mind starts to assemble information. I understand what's causing that feeling, and so what these entities will do is they'll wait until you know, like I'll be like, oh shit, that's important. You know what I mean? Like my mind will finally grasp the importance of a certain thing. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I'll give you an example. When I realized that, you know, mayors are really, this whole system's going to hinge on mayors. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be from the bottom up, everything's controlled. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to have to think about that real serious. You know, like how much money they make, how that whole system works. Without taking it too far, but I'm just going to have to take it right to the brink, and just my mind start gearing up on that. You know what I mean? My wheels start turning real hard, you know? And that's when they assault my mind. And see, that's really a problem, because once my gamma waves set, and the average person doesn't understand this, and they'll flatter themselves and say, oh, I understand that. You know what I mean? Like, you're fine. That's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Because that's why they do it, because the average person will say that, because they're ignorant. And they don't spend time watching their brainwaves in live time or any of that. And they're not going to. You know what I mean? So that lack of understanding will always be there. And they feel entitled to that, and that kind of gives them a little bit of, I'm better than you, and they need that. And a lot of things that they do to me are really rooted in stupidity and pettiness of the average person. And so that's really going to go to that. And it's just another situation that it pisses me off because they don't understand that they're actually getting fucked. And these entities are basically saying, well, the system that you've created is already pretty much foolproof. So we're just taking parts of it that are important, and just basically burning them in front of you and making you watch just to blow your fucking mind. Because the reason is that people will more adhere to the system out of that, and there'll be more benefit from that than we would even be costing ourselves by destroying that part of it. You know what I mean? And it just really frustrates me so much because gamma waves you don't just voluntarily, oh, I'm just going to turn them on right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's important. Let me just get a gamma wave spike right now. You know what I mean? And you would think that they do. You think, well, you can go back to that problem and your mind will work the same way. But it doesn't. And it just pisses me off so much that they're doing this shit to me. And it's just, there's just so much ignorance in it. You know what I mean? The average person just is so fucking ignorant and doesn't give a shit and never really will. And probably will never really care if they get fucked over anyway. They kind of like getting fucked over. Actually, they do like getting fucked over because then they feel safe. They feel safe when they sign on to something that's threatening to them. And if you don't have anything to offer them that's threatening, then they don't like it. You know what I mean? And so they don't care. You know what I mean? And it's just, there's so many different ways that pisses me off that it's just kind of like they get away with it because people are ignorant. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, that really bothers me a lot. And it bothers me every time I go back to try to think about it again, and my brain won't engage with it the same way. You know, because you are considering multiple things at the same time. What's politically feasible? What will people accept? What is affordable? What is taking it too far? What is not enough? And what leaves room for somebody to take advantage of the situation. You know what I mean? Because that will be, at the end of the day, I've built it out so far that that's the only thing left, you know? And, another thing is just that they do these things, and then it's like, there's a lot of people out there that probably are smart, but the design of the system isn't so that you can just go and get what you want. You know what I mean? So you're voting for the mayor, and he's deciding the government above him, and they're deciding the government above them, and they're deciding the government above them. Who is the senator and all this kind of thing at the level above them. And that's the way that the system works. Well, the average person will say, well, I don't get to have my say in it, so I don't like it. You know what I mean? Well, what you want actually isn't a good idea. Okay, this isn't Burger King. Go drive to the fucking drive-thru menu and have it your way. Okay, that's not how the government's supposed to work, dumbass. Because most of what you want isn't any good. What I've done is design a system that will give you what you want if what you want is for the government to stay out of your business. If what you want is for not to have to pay for another kid's education. If what you want is not to have to pay for somebody else's health care. If what you want is low taxes, okay? Regardless of how much money you're making. If that's what you want, then actually you're in luck. This is for you. But what I'm saying is that most people don't want that. They think they want something else, but actually they don't. And so the problem is that you're never going to convince them of it because they're stupid. And so the problem is that I'm creating this system, this decentralized system. See, but the average person, they don't want, you know what I mean? So they don't want a decentralized system. You know what I mean? They want to go and vote for everybody who has, they want to have a say in everything that goes on in the government. They can get welfare and, health care free and all this shit. Somebody else, some boondoggle that somebody else can pay for it. You know what I mean? That actually doesn't even distribute the wealth properly, or, it's just a piece of shit system. And honestly, even if it did, it's is not your fucking money. So, if you want to spend your money, honestly, I promise you one thing, we will make sure that it stays legal to offer money charitably to other people, but we won't make it to where you have to. Anyways, but the point of the story is just that, but I promise you we'll do that. Anyways, but the point of the story is just that it's the fact that they won't like it. You know what I mean? They're never going to like that. But what they will like is to be like, oh, that's the conspiracy theorist right there. Because this is what they say in their repeated statements chapter. The repeated statements and a lot of it is just turning people on me. And I've just posted, I didn't even understand it at the time, but now I do. It's like this. It's like, oh, that's the conspiracy theorist right there. That's the one who said you weren't supposed to eat pizza. And they'll be like, oh, I understand. That's the bad man right there. He's the bad one. You know what I mean? And then they'll scurry away and they'll live the rest of their lives like that. But they're basically saying, we got the bad man. So then you can like it. So then people will say, oh, we embrace, limited government and, sovereignty and all this kind of things, sovereignty over our own lives and all this kind of shit. If you'll just beat him up, and it's just, honestly, that's so sick to me. You know what I mean? That in and of itself is so disgusting, man. To me, I don't even understand why they're doing it. It feels sometimes like they're just doing this shit just because then they can say that they're going to be your God, and it's kind of like a self-serving thing where it's like, oh yeah, my God got Jesus. I haven't been making videos because I'm not going to give them anything that they want if they're just going to assault me all the time. You know what I mean? And it's like that. It's almost like in truth, the average person would rather not even hear from you than hear from Jesus Christ or figure out even who Jesus Christ is, just out of curiosity. Then they would rather just reject a system that was obviously handed down by Jesus Christ. And that doesn't surprise me. And additionally, what surprises me, it's kind of like, oh, you don't want to get into conspiracies or anything. That's bad. And it's like, yeah, that's the bad man. You know what I mean? It's like, you're creating a society of morons. You're creating a society of people that's like, oh, yeah, those conspiracies are bad. And anybody who says I'm not allowed to eat pizza is bad. And it's like, I don't know. It's like a sacrifice they were willing to make to just say that. And they're making sacrifices for other people. You know what I mean? I don't make videos anymore. I don't even do it, because this shit is pissing me off too much. That's the only leverage I even have in any of it, and they don't seem to really care. So then I make this video because it's getting so fucking old. But just to let you know, a lot of it really seems to have to do with the decentralization provision, which is extremely extensive and extends everything down from who selects who. The mayor is selecting and the city council is selecting the senators at the regional level. They're selecting the senators at the state level. What their terms are, how long, what the voting rules are, in order for selecting the mayor, how much money they're going to make. It's all tied in with gross domestic product and different kinds of things like this. And so the more money their constituents make, the more money they make. And it's really probably the most important provision that I have in the entire document. So what I'm saying is just that, with that being the case, it's just, it's been just a lot of abuse, and understandably, that's why one of the reasons I kept putting it off, I was like, I'm not going to do it if you're going to keep assaulting me. And I finally realized the provision is so fucking important that they'll assault me all the way. If I put it off for 6 months, they'll assault me the whole fucking way. And then be like, all that counted towards galvanization, towards that provision that was actually good, you know? And I was like, no, I'm not just going to let them just assault me forever, you know? But even after the fact, they continue to assault me, and it's really been pretty severe, and it's left me just really sullen. And I just really, I really, I don't know, man. It's just the way that they go about it that frustrates me so much. You know what I mean? Because it's like trying to win a race with my legs tied together. You know what I mean? Or it's like trying to win a fight with somebody with one arm tied behind my back. Or, you know, anything like that. It's like being hamstrung and still trying to... So what I'm saying is just that, you know, it's just extremely frustrating. And it's so fucking crazy, man. I mean, they do this repeatedly, you know? God damn, I just feel like Alex Jones is on here. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even say what I mean to say because Alex Jones is having a problem with it. Seriously. Honestly, this is honestly probably what's going on in my life. Dude, that dude is such a pest, honestly. He's the biggest pest I've ever fucking seen in my entire life. Anyways, but the point of the story is just that it's so infuriating, man. And honestly, once I get deep enough into an extremely complex provision, I don't even hear from them the whole time, pretty much. But to the extent that it does happen, would actually blow your fucking mind. To the extent that it's like, oh yeah, your mind's engaging heavily, then I'm gonna like fuck with you until it just derails my whole gamma waves. My gamma waves are shot completely. You know, I can feel them ramping up and then they're just gone. I know exactly what they feel like, then they're gone. I almost feel like that's a good lesson for dumbasses out there. Like, oh, cool, yeah, now we know something, that's why they did it. And maybe it is, but it's not going to help you. You know what I mean? You aren't going to learn anything from it. You're not going to grow or change. You're just going to be another fucking idiot who knows something useless shit. You know what I mean? And not benefiting from it at all. You know? And that really frustrates me. That really frustrates me that it's stupid shit like that, you know what I mean? That just pisses me off. You know? It's just, oh, I don't know. It is. You know, it's like, is that what you're getting out of it? Oh, we know something now. Oh, we know something. So you know something, now you're ahead in life or something? That would be what that's about. And that would be probably good enough for them. Like, see, I liked you. Like, yeah. We know something, we're good, we're better than somebody, you know? Because that's how people need it. They need to feel like that, you know what I mean? Like when you're smarter than them, then they'll seize upon things and be like, oh, well, that means I'm smarter than you. You know what I mean? I understood what you were saying, so then I'm smarter than you. You know what I mean? They're making me feel like this all the time, you know? But anyway, it's just so old. I mean, just imagine, listen to what I've just said here in this fucking video. Now I feel like more bullshit is coming over me. But I won't even be able to finish this correctly, but I'm just saying, like, just listen to this fucking video. Do you see the litany of abuses that I'm experiencing? Just repeatedly all the time. You know, it's like, it never ends, man. It's so fucking old, man. And you think, oh, you need to get around other people. That is not going to help. I need to get on pills. Honestly, I need to get on serious pills. Like Xanax, shit like that. That'll just wipe me out. Just probably all the time. You know? Because this isn't stopping. And it's getting to the point where it's just like, it's either that or suicide. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go on like this forever. You know, I promise you that. But it's just, I mean, that's just what it's coming down to, you know? It's just so old, man. It's been going on for like 2 fucking years, man. Like for 2 fucking years, I've been putting up with this shit, you know? And it stopped for a little while and it started back up as soon as other people found out about it. They assaulted me repeatedly for months on end in California. and then it stopped for a little while, and then as soon as the book got finished and sent out, then it started right back up again. Oh my God, Alex Jones is getting off on this. Like, Alex Jones has arrived because I'm telling this story. Alex Jones has arrived in life. Can you believe that? That's all it took. And this is such a distraction. Just let me speak my fucking piece, and then, but no, it's like Alex Jones is a problem now. Alex Jones, I don't even know about that. Like, Alex Jones might be having an issue with it, and that doesn't make it okay, but I'm just saying, I don't want to know it. You know what I mean? Like, I have to feel it and everything. Like, extremely. You know what I mean? Dude, that's fucked up. Alex Jones is about to get fucked, honestly. So, but anyways, Alex Jones might end up being killed by me, honestly. The point of what I'm saying is just that either way, it's just, this is probably they don't like me talking about this. You know what I mean? Like, that seems like a lot of times this Alex Jones shit will pop up when it's something that they would prefer me not to just dive straight into that and stay on that subject. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's true that you've been living under continuous assault for 2 fucking years now. You know what I mean? And it's like mind-numbing, and it's to the point where people aren't even really going to care anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, at a certain point, it's like, that's just the tortured person who God beat up every day. I don't even understand it. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't even care anymore. You know what I mean? Like, people just check out at a certain point. That's probably what they're trying to avoid. They probably don't want me just talking about it like that. You know what I mean? Like, they want you, like, on the edge of your seat. Oh, is he getting tortured again? Just whatever, man. It's so fucking stupid, man. And I really can't get into it because this Alex Jones shit is really just too much right now. You know what I mean? But it's just like, Jesus Christ. It's like Alex Jones. You know what I mean? And then if like Alex Jones, energy, you know what I mean? Or Alex Jones has an issue, or he's arrived. You know what I mean? He's arrived in life because he sees me going through something. Alex Jones has arrived. Like, this, thriving on that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel his energy like that. Like, just thriving on it. You know what I mean? To think that, just like, seriously, you know what I mean? I know he's probably doing that. You know what I mean? Seriously, this is who he is, man. Such a pest. Such a real pest. You know what I mean? Like, this dude is a nuisance pest. Like, I had a serious message that I was trying to fucking bring to people every day. All his whole fucking idea was just to drag it down. You know, so I called into his show to confront him on, saying that Saudi Arabia was responsible for 9/11. And he put me all the way to the end of the lineup. He let everybody else, all the other guests, speak first. And then he spoke with his guest, all his other call-ins. He let all his other call-ins speak first. Then he let his guest speak. And then for an hour or two with his guest. And then he worked me in within the last 3 minutes. The very, very end of the show. Because he didn't want people hearing what I had to say. You know what I mean? And that was a big deal for him because, see, I confronted him and I said, Saudi Arabia has more oil than any country in the world. Are you suggesting that Saudi Arabia told the BBC that those buildings were falling behind them when they hadn't even fell yet? That they gave them the script, and was telling them, because that was an accident for them to actually say that before it happened. But they knew that it was going to happen. And how did they know Building 7 was going to collapse? The first building to collapse due to fire in the history of the world. So there is no, but I said, now here you are on the radio pointing our military at the world's largest oil reserve in Saudi Arabia, suggesting they did that rapidly every day, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, saying Saudi Arabia was responsible for 9/11 all day, every day. That was his favorite thing to say. All fucking day. And to the extent that he would say that would actually blow your fucking mind, because it was just, that was the centerpiece of his entire message. You know what I mean? Like, more than anything else that he had to say was that. You know what I mean? Like, there was all other things kind of going on, but he wanted to talk about Saudi Arabia doing 9/11. That is what he wanted to say more than anything else. More than anything else. So for me to call into his show and say, oh, hey, you're a fraud, and I can just clearly see it, Well, he wasn't all interested in that. You know what I mean? So he put me at the very end of the lineup. You know what I mean? And then whenever it happened, then he said, well, I'm not going to engage with you. And, I broke all that stuff. And it's just irrelevant. It's like, yes, we know that. You're a Fabian communist shill. You break things and then you piss on them. That's what you do. You know what I mean? When you're not sitting around trying to think about how to drag somebody's fucking message down. Because you're a fraud. You're a fucking fraud. And he'll go on like a fraud like that for the rest of his fucking life. He's actually a piece of shit. And I've caught him on my devices. Women in my life got stalked and threatened, through their electronic devices over what I left on his voicemail. That is a vicious piece of shit. A miserable, vicious piece of shit who sits there scoffing all day long. Because, see, he feels like he's arrived in life. Like he's working for the CIA, he's a fraud. Like that's a high point for him, being a fraud and being in the CIA. So he's going to look down his nose at everybody. You know what I mean? Being on your shit. He's a small man. He couldn't measure up. That's his whole agenda. All day, every day. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at you. I made it in life. You didn't do that. I did this. I made it. You didn't. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Infinite that. Infinite. If you ever been around a small person, a shorter person, who's just a little bit shorter than everybody else, I was in a tank in jail. And there was this guy in there who was shorter than everybody else. And he always wanted to say, well, actually this, well, actually that, well, actually this. Well, we got tired of it. We didn't want to hear all this, actually this, actually that. Want to fucking argue with you about every little fucking thing. You know what I mean? And that's the same fucking mentality, because when people are short, then they've got to elevate themselves somehow. And it's a sick agenda with some of these pests. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of these people are just going to wind up in jail because they're dumb. And that's just where they belong. You know what I mean? And just the agenda, like the urge to always do it. It's like, dude, get a fucking grip, bro. I mean, for real. Like, life ain't that hard. For real. It ain't that fucking hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, find something to occupy yourself with that doesn't have to do with what somebody else is doing. You know what I mean? For real. You fucking criminal pest. You know what I mean? You're already on your way to fucking prison. You know that. So I don't even know why the fuck I'm even talking about this motherfucker.